Hello everyone, welcome to the lecture series of operating systems. So in today's session we are going to see about the memory allocation strategy, that is contiguous memory allocation. So in this contiguous memory allocation we'll see how a process will be allocated into the main memory when we try to execute a process. Okay, so in contiguous memory allocation strategy we need to allocate memory to a process in a continuous fashion in the main memory. We cannot divide the process into different parts and we cannot accommodate the memory here and there. So we need to accommodate the memory in a continuous fashion in your main memory. So let us go with this method. So whenever you consider executing a process, so first thing we need to remember is your memory will be divided into two parts. So first will be for your operating system and the second part will be for your user process. User process in the sense those processes which you say, for example, if you write a C program, you can consider it as a user process, or if you try to execute or if you try to open a Word document, you can consider that Word document as a user process. Okay, so see here, if you consider this as your main memory, some part of your main memory will be reserved for your operating system files, whereas the remaining part will be stored for your or given for your user process. Okay, so if you see, the operating system stored in your main memory may be represented or may be stored in the higher part of your memory or in the lower part. So what is higher and lower parts of your memory? Either low memory or high memory. What is this low and high memory? So if you consider a main memory, in the main memory, for each and every byte of data, so one byte in a sense 8 bits. So for each and every byte of data, you will have one address location. So if I consider my main memory as the size of 512 bytes, then I can say that my main memory will consist of 512 addresses. So for each and every one byte of data, you will have one address location. Okay, so say for example, my main memory address, first address of my main memory starts with the address as 00000. Okay, and say for example, some 300 bytes of my main memory is required for storing the operating system. So the last address would be 512. Okay, so here the starting addresses will be considered as a low memory, whereas the end addresses of your main memory are considered as the higher order addresses. So your operating system, there is no rule that your operating system should be stored at lower order memory location, or there is no restriction that it should be stored in the higher order memory location. That depends upon the operating system you are going to use and the convenience your device which is going to be used. Okay, so this interrupt vector, see here, the interrupt vector is often in low memory. Interrupt vector in the sense whenever what is an interrupt is, so whenever a program is executing, so an event which will stop the flow of execution of a process is known as interrupt. So in order to handle that event, we'll have interrupt handlers in our operating system, and such type of interrupt handler is a vector, and this vector will be present in the low memory. So since your interrupt vector will be present in the low memory, in most cases your operating system will be stored in the lowest memory addresses of your main memory. Okay, then in your contiguous memory allocation method, each process will be contained in a single section of memory. Say for example, I have a process of size 100 bytes. So this 100 bytes I should allocate in a continuous fashion in my main memory. Okay, so that is the main point you need to remember while going with the continuous or contiguous memory allocation strategy. Okay, then so before going going into this method, first thing we need to consider is when you have multiple number of processes present in your main memory, you need to be sure that the CPU is going to access the memory which is allocated for that particular process. Say for example, this is my main memory and some part of it is reserved for the operating system. I have a process P1 here and process P2 and process P3 stored like this in my main memory. Now if I want to execute, suppose P1 is of 10 byte size, P2 is of 5 bytes and P3 is of 10 bytes. So whenever you try to execute a process, the CPU will execute only 1 byte per instruction. Okay, so at a time your CPU will execute only 1 byte. Now if I want to execute my process P1, the complete size is 10 bytes. So at particular point of time, I want to execute process P1's 5th byte of data. Okay, so in that case, I need to the CPU will generate a logical address indicating which process it has to execute and then which byte it has to execute. So whenever you are trying to access that particular memory, you need to make sure that your CPU is generating a logical address that is confined to your process P1 itself. If your CPU is executing process P1 and if it is trying to access the memory that is allocated for a process P2, you will get an error or inconsistent output. So in that case, you need to protect the memory access. So in order to protect the memory access, we will make use of two registers called relocation register and the limit register. So if you observe in the previous class, we have seen about the two registers, that is base and limit registers. So what is a base register? The base register will store the starting address of your process. So as we have discussed, the main memory contains for each and every byte one memory address. So here, if my process P1 starts at the address 00100 and it is containing 10 bytes of size, so since it is a contiguous memory allocation, I have allocated the memory in a continuous fashion. So my last address of this process will be 110, 00110. So 10 bytes of memory. So now if I want to execute this process P1, I will make use of two registers we said. The base register will store the starting address. So the starting address of your process P1 is 00100. Whereas the limit register will store the size of your process. That is the number of bytes it is required or it is occupying in your main memory. So with the help of these two, see here, the size of your process P1 is 10 bytes. So limit register will contain the value 10, whereas the base register will contain the starting address of your process P1. So whenever you try to access a process, the CPU will generate which byte of data it wants to execute. So I will take that you will call that byte or that particular byte which the CPU wants to execute is called as an offset. Okay, so I will call this as an offset. So I will take this offset and compare it with the limit register. So if the limit is less than, if the offset is less than the limit register, then I can say that your process, you are trying to access a memory that is given for that particular process. If the offset is greater than your limit, then you can say you are trying to access an unauthorized memory location. Okay, so here the relocation register is the one which will act as a base register and the limit register is going to store the size of your process. And then the whole setup is supported by a hardware device called memory mapping unit, MMU. Okay, so let us have a look at this diagram which we have discussed now. See here, the logical address that is generated by your CPU is taken. So your logical address, the logical address that is generated by your CPU will contain the process number and the byte number, that is the offset. So this offset will be compared to your limit register. Say for example, my process P1 size is 10 bytes. So your limit register will contain the value 10. Now I am trying to execute byte number 5. So since I want to execute the fifth byte. So since 5 is less than 10, I am trying to, it ensures that the CPU is trying to access the correct memory location. If it is less than the limit, then it will go and then add the offset to the relocation register value. So if the starting address of your process, as we have discussed in previous example, is 00100, so I'll add this 5 to my relocation register, then I'll have the address 00105, so which you can call it as the physical address of your main memory. All the addresses that you have in your main memory are called the physical addresses. So likewise, from the generated logical address, I'll find out my actual physical address on the main memory, and with the help of these two registers, we'll get the protection. Okay, so now we'll go with the contiguous memory allocation methods, how your processes are going to be allocated in your main memory. So in this, we have two methods in contiguous memory allocation. So one is a fixed sized partition. So in fixed sized partition, you will divide your memory into fixed sized partitions. So the available main memory is completely divided into different sized partitions, and their size is fixed in prior. Okay, so the degree of multi-programming is bound by the number of partitions. So number of partitions, what is this degree of multi-programming? How can we say the degree of multi-programming of an operating system? So the total number of processes that are brought into the main memory for execution at single point of time or at any instant of time is known as the degree of multi-programming. See here, in fixed sized partition, if this is your main memory, your main memory will be divided into different partitions, and the size of the partition may be, one partition may be of 100 KB, 500 KB, 200 KB, 300. So see here, all the partitions need not be of the same size. Okay, so your one partition may be of 100, one partition may be of 500. So each partition size may be different, but the size of partition is fixed in prior. Okay, so number of partitions I have here is 4. So I can say that my degree of multi-programming is 4, since for each and every partition I can store one process. Okay, so for each and every partition I can store only one process. If all the 4 partitions are filled by 4 processes, then the 5th process that wants to execute should be in waiting state. Okay, then whenever a partition is free, one process will be selected from the input queue. Input queue in the sense, the queue that is placed in your secondary memory, which contains the process that have to be executed in the main memory. So from that input queue, one process will be taken and then placed in the main memory whenever one of these partitions are free. Okay, so whenever a process terminates, so if all the 4 partitions are filled, say for example, if one process completes its execution, the process will be terminated from the CPU, the execution of the process will be terminated, and as soon as the process terminates, its memory that is occupying the memory that is occupying by that process in your main memory will be freed, so that the partition can be used by the next process that is coming for execution. Okay, and then the next method we have in contiguous memory allocation is variable size partition. So in variable size partition, you need not divide the main memory into different fixed partitions. Okay, so your available main memory will be like this free. Okay, say for example, I have a process P1 of size 50 kb, P2 of size 100 kb, P3 of size 200 kb, and P4 of size 125 kb. Okay, so if this is the order of my process that are coming into this main memory that wanted to be executed. So since I got my process P1 first, I can allocate process P1 here with 50 kb. Then I have process P2, so I can allocate P2 of size 100 kb. Okay, then I have P3 with size 200 and then P4 with size 125 kb. If any remaining space is left, that will be at the last. So see, after a few minutes or few time later, if a process completes its execution, that process memory will be freed. Say for example, P2 has completed its execution first. So the process P2 will be removed from the main memory, and here you will have the size occupied by your process P2 is 100 kb. So here the 100 kb space will be empty. So you can call this emptied or freed space as a hole. So in variable sized partition, initially you will have a one big hole. So as the process occupy your main memory, your holes will be scattered here and there, and you will have different sized holes. Okay, so here see, your memory will be considered as a one large block of size. So eventually, as you see, the memory will contain a set of holes. So hole in the sense the empty free space. So here if the process P2 completes its execution, you will have 100 kb of free space. And then if you have the process P4 completed its execution next, then you will have 125 kb of free space here. Then you can have 100 and 125 kb free spaces as holes. Okay, so that is about your variable sized partition. So we have the three methods. Next coming are the three methods. So whether you consider a fixed partition or a variable sized partition, what is the method that should be taken in order to place your multiple process such that your memory is used efficiently. Okay, so as we have seen, with our available main memory, we can allocate the process. In previous example, we have taken 4 process and allocated it to our memory. Okay, so if you consider the fixed sized partition, there the size of your partition is already fixed. Okay, and I can place only one process at a time in my main memory. Okay, so one process in my partition. For each one partition, I can place only one process. Say for example, my partition size is 500 kb and I have a process of size 50 kb. So since I can place only one process in this partition, only 50 kb of size will be occupied. The remaining 450 kb of this slot will be wasted, since I cannot place another process while it is occupied by one process. Okay, so for this reason, you need to select the partition in such a way that you will not waste more memory. Okay, so in order to place your process in the available free partitions, we have 3 methods: first fit, best fit and worst fit. So first we will go with the first method, that is first fit. So the first fit will allocate the first hole that is big enough to store your process. Okay, so let us go with the example here for first fit. So see here, given 5 memory partitions. So in the main memory is divided here into 5 partitions: 100, 500, 200, 300 and 600 kb partitions. So these are the partitions of your main memory, and we have the process 212 KB, 417, 112 and then 426 KB. So totally we have 4 processes of these sizes and we have 5 partitions. So the first fit method says you will select the first available hole that is big enough to store your process. Big enough to store your process in the sense you can store, say for example, you can store 212 KB process with the partition size that is greater than or equal to 212 KB. You cannot store a 212 KB process in a partition of size 100 KB, right? You cannot store more amount of data in a less space. So first fit will say that you need to search your main memory right from the first partition and place your process in a partition such that the partition is big enough. First partition that is big enough to store your process. So here the first, let us go with this example. The first process we have is the 212 KB process. So start searching from the first block here. First block is 100 KB size. So I cannot fit 212 KB in 100 KB. The next partition I have here is 500 KB partition. So 500 KB can store 212 KB of size. So since this is the first big enough partition that can store the process with 212 KB size, I am allocating 212 here. Okay. Then after allocating this, the partitions we have free are 200, 300 and then 600 KB size. So next process we have is 417 KB. So 417 KB. Again, start searching from the first partition. So first partition is 100 KB. I cannot store 417 here. Next is already filled. Third is 200 KB size. So again, I cannot fill the partition. So 300 is not sufficient to store 417 KB. Whereas last is 600 KB which is capable of storing 417. So I am placing 417 in the last partition of size 600 KB. Okay. Then the next process we have is 112 KB partition. 112 KB sized process. So here already 500 and 600 slots are filled with 417. Again start searching from the first point or first partition of your main memory. So here 100 KB not sufficient for 112 KB. So again 500 is filled. Next 200 KB is sufficient to store 112 KB size. So I am putting 112 process in here. And then the next process we have is 426 KB. Now observe the free partitions. One is 100 KB and the other is 300 KB which are free. So 100 is not sufficient, whereas 300 is also not sufficient for storing 426 KB sized process, right? So your next process, that is 426 KB process, will be in waiting state until and unless these three process, one of these three process, like in order to store this 426 KB size, either 500 KB partition should be free or 600 KB partition should be free. So until and unless these two processes free the memory partitions, your process should keep on waiting. Okay, so that is first fit. The second method you have is the best fit. So now see here, best fit will select the smallest hole. So the smallest hole in the sense, in the previous example, as you have seen, the smallest hole is 100 KB. If that 100 KB is enough to store your process, you can select that 100 KB to store your process. Whereas the worst fit will select the largest hole. Best fit will select the smallest hole. Now let us go with the examples for these two methods also. So the same example with 5 partitions and then 4 processes. So we'll go with the best fit. So best fit will select the smallest hole of the available partitions. Okay. So what is the smallest hole here? That is 100 KB. First process we have is 212 KB. So first process is 212 KB, and out of all the available free spaces, we have 100 KB as the smallest one. But 100 KB we cannot store 212 KB. So next smallest one is 200 KB. Okay, so whereas 200 KB also I cannot store. So this is 100, 500, 200, the size is 300, and then this is 600 partition. So here the next free space is 200, in which I cannot store 212. Next smallest one is 300. So 300 is enough to store my 212 process. So I am placing 212 process here. Then next we have is the 417 KB sized. So since this 300 size partition is already filled by the process 212, we have the partitions 100, 500, 200 and 600 as free, out of which smallest one is 100, not enough for storing 417. 500 we can store 417 process. So the next smallest is after 100 you have 200, not sufficient, 300 already filled. Then next smallest is 500, which is sufficient for storing your 417 process. Okay, so I am putting 417 process here in the 500 KB slot. And then we have the next process 112. So now the available free spaces are 100 KB, 200 and then 600. Out of these three available spaces, the smallest one is 100, but we have the size as 112 KB of next process. So I cannot store it in 100 KB. So I am going with the next smallest one, that is 200, which is capable of storing my 112. So I am placing it here, and then the empty free spaces I have now is 100 KB and then this 600 KB slot. So out of which 100 is smallest one, but my next process size is 426 KB. So I cannot store it in this smallest one. So I will go with the next smallest, that is 600 KB, and I will place it here. So here if you consider all the four processes are placed in your partitions without any memory wastage. In previous first fit, we have the last process in waiting state, even though we have the memory available, some amount of memory available in our main memory. Okay. Then go with the example with worst fit. So the worst fit will take the largest hole available in your main memory. So the largest hole in your main memory is 600 KB, right? So the first process you have here is 212 KB process, and the largest hole available is 600 KB. So I am storing the first process in largest hole, that is 600 KB. Then next is 417. So out of available remaining slots, the largest slot is 500 KB slot. So I am allocating 417 here in the 500 KB slot, and the remaining empty free holes are 200, 300 and then 100 KB slots. So next my process size is 112 KB. So 112 KB I am placing it, the empty free slots are 100, 200 and 300. So out of which the largest one is 300 slot. So I am placing in 300, I am placing my next 112 process. So again my free slots now are 100 and then 200 KB. So next process is of size 426 KB, in which I cannot store, even though it is the largest one, I cannot store 426 here. So again the process 426 KB will be in waiting state. So out of these three methods, you can say that best fit method will be the best chosen method in order to allocate your process into the main memory without any wastage of your main memory. Okay, so now we'll go with the disadvantages with fixed and variable sized partitions. So we call those disadvantages as fragmentations. So these fragmentations are of two types. So one is the internal fragmentation. So this fragmentation is the wastage of the amount of memory that is occurred within your main memory. Okay, so internal fragmentation in the sense, when you store your process in the partitions, in fixed sized partition, if you remember, I can store only one process in one partition. So let us go with an example. See here, I have process P1, P2 and P3, out of which the size of your P3 process is 18,462 bytes, and the total partition size here is 18,464 bytes. Okay, so when I store my process P3 in this slot, the 14,464 bytes, out of this 18,464 bytes, 18,462 bytes were occupied by process P3, and the remaining free space we have is the 2 bytes. So even now, after storing all the 3 processes, if I have one more process P4 of size only 1 byte, since all the partitions of my main memory are already filled, I have 2 bytes of free space available, but this partition is already filled by the process P3, so I cannot store another process into the same partition. So I have the memory, but I cannot accommodate it to my process, and the memory is being wasted within the partition. So the memory that is wasted within the partition is known as the internal fragmentation. Okay. So next we have is the external fragmentation. External fragmentation in the sense, if let us go with an example for this. If I have my process occupied like this, P1 of size 10 KB, here I have a free hole of size 50 KB, and P2 is being occupied, this is of size 200, and here I have a free slot of 150 KB. So if you consider the total memory allocation, the total memory freely available here is 50 plus 150, 200 KB of free memory is available. If I have a process of size 175 KB, say for example, I need to store a process of size 175 KB. So now I have the total free space available is 200 KB. So 50 plus 150, total 200 KB is available. But since this is a contiguous memory allocation, I need to accommodate 175 KB at one place, which is not available in my main memory. So external fragmentation occurs in such a situation where you will have enough memory free in your main memory, but you cannot accommodate that free memory to your process at the same place. So that you will call it as a external fragmentation. So to remove this external fragmentation, in order to reduce this external fragmentation, the only solution we have is the compaction. So compaction will say that all the jobs that are placed in your main memory can be moved to one location. That is, see, observe the diagram here. So this is my free slot. So this is in the diagram. Here I have a free hole. Here 2, 3 and 4 slots. At 4 places I have free holes of smaller sizes. So in compaction, I will move each and every job towards the empty free space, such that all the jobs are moved aside and I'll have a free space moved to one side, such that I can place remaining process in the available continuous free space. But since this provides, even though it provides a solution to your external fragmentation, you cannot use this compaction method whenever required, okay? Because moving a job from one location to another location requires you to change number of values, like say for example, we have studied about the base and limit registers, okay? So what the base register will store? The starting address of your process. If the starting address, say for example, of your job 3 is 100, now what I am doing in the next step, I am moving this job 3 to some other location, say for example at 90. Then as soon as I move this job to this 90 location, I need to update the base register, okay? So likewise the number of values, and also you need to update the process control block, the size and the address space. Address space in the sense, the set of addresses that are occupied by your process in the main memory is known as address space. So you need to change the address space, contents of your process control block, and then the base registers. So that's why we will not consider this compaction whenever required. Only at high-end priority jobs, only for the high-end priority jobs you need to go with this compaction solution. So that's all about your contiguous memory allocation methods and strategies. In next video we'll see about the non-contiguous method of allocation and their strategies. Thank you for watching this video.